listened,
But then
did
they
the
might
appraisal.
lose the contract though because they put
You know.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stay Smart. I'm your host, Christine Caldwell, and today I have with me Miss Faye Hoxworth. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Christine.
Absolutely. So Faye, give us a little introduction. Who are you? Who do you work with? What do you do?
So, Faye Hoxworth, and I am with Old Republic Relocation Services. I am the Strategic Operations Manager for our relocation department. So I'm responsible for all of the fun and exciting changes that are taking place in the title and closing world. I know those two things usually probably don't go together in the same sentence.
Well, so a title and closing comes with the topic that we're talking about today. Home sale, home purchase, what's going on? Why is it crazy? Here we go.
So essentially, everyone to some degree is kind of aware that it's a seller's market right now. COVID, took a toll on the real estate industry in the sense that people want to live in the suburbs. They want to have more open space. They're moving on their own a lot, even if they're not being relocated for their jobs. So there's a housing market frenzy.
Yeah.
And homes are selling for, way over asking with huge cash offers.
And then inventory too, because I've even heard from the builder standpoint, the developer's standpoint too, land is even expensive. So they're even trying to get this more inventory out there, but it's expensive. So it's just taking time.
The housing market in general is just kind of crazy right now. Buyers are waiving their appraisal contingency.
Right.
To get into these houses because it is such a seller's market because inventory is so low. So they're not only waiving the appraisal contingency, but they're offering, $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 more in cash over asking price to get their offer accepted. That's great. I'm so glad that as a buyer, you're able to get that house because you've done that. But what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for whenever you're ready to sell that home, you're now in a loss on sale situation.
Yeah.
Because your home is not worth what you bought it for.
Right. And the shortage of appraisals.
Yeah. So the appraisal contingency is essentially, it's pretty standard in all contracts. But it's essentially saying that if the home does not meet, by a certified appraiser, if the home does not meet the value of the purchase price, then the buyer can back out of the contract. Mm-hmm. Buyers are just waiving that right. So the lender doesn't need an appraisal because they're seeing that the home, they already know the home is worth what they're financing because of the tax assessed value.
Gotcha.
So there are just a lot of appraisal contingencies that are being waived, or the appraisal is getting done. And if it doesn't come in for what it needs to, then the buyer's agreeing to just pay cash for the difference. That way their lender will still allow them to get the loan and they can still move forward with that appraisal contingency being waived in that contract. So by waiving that right, that's essentially the buyer saying, hey, I know I'm offering you more than what the appraisal is probably going to come in at. So I'm not going to be allowed to back out of the contract if the appraisal doesn't come in. You're looking at a stack of 7 contracts that have come in and you're flipping through. You're looking for the highest price, the cash offer with all contingencies waived, so that you're selling your home to capitalize on the market and you're getting the most of it.
Sellers are trying to get the most easiest, most accepted, that they know that contract is going to go through. They don't need to wait for it to be appraised. They don't have to wait for, the loan to be accepted. Is that the word, accepted?
And that's what they're looking for. And that's why the market is so, it's struggling right now for your traditional home buyer.
So BVOGBO, what does that mean? When is it used? How is it used? I have no idea. Please explain.
Yeah. GBO is a guaranteed buyout offer.
Okay.
And what that means is the relocation management company is going to make an offer to the transferee for their home based on 3 appraisals, and they take the average of those appraisals to make them an offer. And they're going to, that's it, give them the money, buy the home, and now the relocation management company owns it.
Okay.
And BVO is buyer value option, where a transferee will find their own buyer, get their own amount that a buyer is willing to pay on a contract for their home. They'll tell the relocation management company, hey, I have a buyer, they're ready to close on this date. This is the price they're willing to pay for my home with these contingencies. And then the relocation management company will enter into a contract directly with that buyer, so that then they'll go through the process of the relocation management company buying the home from the transferee at that price that the buyer asked for.
Does the corporation require you to have those appraisers done, or?
If they're going through a traditional BVOGBO, they do appraisals, and they'll do a relocation appraisal, which typically consists of 3 appraisals. That way they can take the median of them.
Okay. But I'm wondering though, so if your employee is relocating and they're buying, what are corporations doing to help?
Okay, so I love that you asked this, because this is kind of what's happening is when you're a transferee and you're going to buy a home, there is no BVO or GBO program. What it is it's if your employer is assisting you with that home purchase, it's direct reimbursement, where the buyer buys the home, they submit their settlement statement to the relocation management company. They go through, all the approved closing costs, and they cut the buyer a check. So the relocating buyer, they may waive the appraisal contingency. They may offer $50,000 over asking.
Right.
Well, now it's been a year, 2 years. They're getting relocated again. And now their appraisal comes in, and it comes in for, $50,000, $100,000 less than what they bought the home for. Well, their employer now is looking at, are we going to pay a loss on sale to move this transferee and so he can sell his home? Are we going to require him to come out of pocket, which he potentially may turn down the job, may not move?
Right.
How is that handled? As a corporation, it's time to dust off your loss on sale policies. This is ultimately going to happen at some point, where home prices level out, where current home purchasers are now being relocated for their job and selling the homes they bought at these huge markups.
Right.
And what does that look like for the corporate employer who's putting them through a home sale program?
Exactly. In 2 to 3 years, right? Because we're up here. So then what are we going to be doing in the next 2 to 3 years when they might have to move again? One
of the lawyers that we work with in Illinois, he was handling a home purchase transaction for a transferee. And they'd offered, $50,000 over asking. And he told them, he said, hey, go ahead and get your appraisal. Let's see what this looks like so you can talk to the sellers. Because if you get reload again, you may be out this money because you didn't get an appraisal, and your relocation company or your corporate employer may tell you, we're not covering the loss on sale because you did this without an appraisal. The buyer listened to this situation, did the appraisal, and was able to get the seller to go back down to what the appraisal was.
Interesting.
It is. There's so much going on.
Well, and then the whole housing market right now is affecting my industry, corporate housing, because people are buying these homes to make the profit, because it is you said it's a seller's market, and they're like, you know what, I could probably live in an apartment, for a couple years or whatever, because they've made 100, like you said, 100,000 over or whatever. You have these people that are now moving out of their homes, they're selling their homes, they're moving into apartment communities, and now we're going into the relocation season, which is the summertime. People want to move during the summertime because the kids are out of school, and we're like, there's no inventory.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because just the few friends in the industry and just local friends that I've talked to who are selling their home, I asked them, I said, hey, what are you going to do? Obviously you're capitalizing on the market, but what are your plans? because you don't want to buy right now. Obviously, you're going
Right.
to be paying overpriced. Oh, we're just going to move to an apartment for a couple of years. See. I love it.
Okay, well, thank you, Faye, for joining me here today to talk.
Thank you for
to
having me.
So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. Check in next time, and remember, stay smart.
Thank
We're all
you.
Oh gosh.
That's hilarious.